Hey, how you doing? This is a random video. This wasn't something I was planning on making. This is just something that I had on my heart and it's bothering me a lot. Okay, like when I tell you it's bothering me a lot, I mean like I feel my heart like going like miles an hour because I'm frustrated, I'm angry, and I'm just like, if anything, I'm just like sad. I'm just sad because these are issues that I care about. These are issues that affect me. Okay. And it never stops. That's the thing. It's never going to stop. And with what I'm about to talk about today, this issue's never going to get better unless I talk about this kind of thing. So, yeah, I just wanted to preface this by saying this is random. This is completely off script, like not something I was going to talk about. So, yeah. So what I'm going to talk about in today's video is semi-related to another video that I wanted to make regarding being a Black nerd and how hard it is as a Black nerd to navigate most fandom spaces, right? Just different pieces of media that aren't like mainstream or considered weird to like, the greater masses, the rest of the world and whatnot else. So I'm talking like anime, video games, yada yada, you name it. It's anything that's deemed as like nerdy or weird or whatever, right? So I wanted to talk about that a little bit in a separate video. Just because as a result of living the society that we live in, there's just anti-Blackness that's going to present itself everywhere, no matter what. And no matter how much a community or a fandom in particular has built themselves up on being like the odd ones out and, not being understood, and have created these pieces of media to kind of represent that, or, have created different spaces where they feel safe expressing themselves and being nerdy and into all these things that they're into. No matter how much we've tried to make it seem, these people try to make it seem like it's all this all-inclusive thing. It's not. And the reason it's not is because obviously we live in the society that we do. And Black nerds are at the intersection of that most of the time. And it's just a result of having a lot of media catered to a lot of white people, or be white centered in some capacity, or having majority of the representation of said piece of media be white centered and only having white fans be the only acceptable default image of what a fan could be of this piece of media, if you get what I'm putting down, right? So it's just a result of that, and it makes it a lot harder to navigate spaces being a Black nerd. So hopefully that gives you you get what I'm putting down here. And in particular with this thing I want to talk about today, it involves this show called The Amazing Digital Circus. If you don't know what it is made by this indie animation company called Glitch that's on YouTube. Very, very popular right now. And the success of this show's pilot led to basically creating this entire series. And it's very mainstream now. I mean, like, you can walk into a Hot Topic and get like a Amazing Digital Circus shirt, and now they have this show that has made them a lot of money and is very popular and is getting them success and notoriety so that they can start other shows and things of that nature. So the Amazing Digital Circus is basically the face of the company Glitch, and it was made by this creator named Gooseworx, right? Now I'm a fan of the show. I like the show. I didn't particularly enjoy, I guess, the pilot itself was alright. It wasn't anything I felt like groundbreaking or anything that I thought I was like, ooh, I'm going to get into. But as I watched the series progress, and I ended up liking it. I really did. And I even have a eat a bag dedicated to my favorite character, which is Pomni, because I feel like a lot of her mannerisms and the way that she navigates the world, being shy, being a little bit guarded, being kind of like like about certain things, I feel like that represents me, and how I navigate the world kind of like socially and everything, because I'm a nervous person, even though I like to joke on here. Obviously, I am in general like a more like nervous, kind of shy, kind of socially anxious person. So characters like that really, like, I feel like speak to me in a way. So that's why I like the show and why I like Pomni in particular, right? However, like any space, which I kind of expect it in any space that I get into. Like any space, it's always going to have its issues when it comes to racism, and that has happened recently. So, to give a brief summary of what the drama was going on with this fandom in particular, I feel like it's reductive to actually call it drama in the first place. I don't think we should be referring to racism as that, because it should be treated with severity and seriousness. And I feel like the term drama just like diminishes it into this she said, he said, and it's not really that big of a deal. It's a nothing burger. Like, that's not what racism is, unfortunately. So I don't think it should be referred to as that, but I'll do it for the sake of this video. So basically the summary of it is Gooseworx had made some type of tweet on her Twitter referring to some unsavory posts or videos that could possibly be out there used to cancel her, which I don't have much to say on that. I don't know why you would put a target on your back that way or want people to refer to that and stuff like that. But typically when somebody says, ooh, what I'd get canceled for, I feel like it's used in a way to kind of like diminish like what you do. And I feel, I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of people feel like cancel culture in a way is just like not warranted in most instances and stuff like that, and is treated like ooh, like they're hurting me and like they want to see my downfall because I did something so small or whatever. Like, I feel like referring it to as something I'd get canceled for is just like, I don't feel like you've learned anything from what you've done. I feel like more so it's just this thing, this nothing burger thing that people like, you know, just brought up for the sake of just smearing your name or something, right? So I don't like when I didn't like the way she referred to it or whatever was done in that tweet. I just thought it was odd. I thought it was very odd. So the internet does what it does best, and it goes searching. And for the next couple of days, we get a bunch of different tweets from Gooseworx accounts.
You know how I said I'd wake up and there'd be new controversies in my comments? Well, I'm always right. So people have been taking a stroll through memory lane, and they've basically found that when Goose said she had a bunch of edgy jokes in her drafts that would probably cause her to lose her professional position, she wasn't exaggerating. First, we have her constant, incessant need to joke about incest, like it seems every other second. All of these jokes just have the pun of ha 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 incest. Okay, dude. But then again, 30-year-old white women on Tumblr, what did we expect? She also has a post where she complains about people making a character's skin darker because they aren't black. Mind you, the character is based off a black man. This makes me wonder how many times she saw fan art of Jax being black and internally seethed. And then last but not least, she makes a joke about replacing this guy called Shadman, the same guy who literally drew porn of real life children. She also posted this around the time he got arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. Genuinely can't fathom what's so funny about that. Every day I truly thank God that I never started posting on Twitter, because it seems that being on that app for long periods of time genuinely just makes you desensitized to everything horrible in the world, to the point where it's almost sad. There's something severely wrong with you people if this does not elicit any concern from you.
Me personally, I feel like there's just no surprise there at all. And what followed, which was the most popular thing to that people were like, oh my dog, like what the hell, was this clip of a live stream of Goose's, I believe it was some of her castmates, actually like reading off a username that sounded close to saying the N-word. What she said, I believe it was Ashley who was reading off this word exactly. She said she was looking at somebody's username in the comments, and she said that it said nega, right? The username started with the abbreviation nega, which is apparently an abbreviation for the word negative, right? Now, to the untrained ear, this is probably just like nothing. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's very clear that she said the word nega, right? Okay. But to somebody like me who has constantly been in situations where I've had to train my ear to know if somebody is saying a different word or if they are saying the word, okay? It's something that I've had to do my whole entire life. And there's been so many instances where I've had to endure harassment from my classmates in school who thought it would be funny to sound like it's close to saying the N-word, but not quite, so they can get a rise out of me. And once I give them that rise, they can say, I was never saying the N-word. That's not, oh God, you're just exaggerating. You're actually the racist one if you think I was saying that. You know, it's a thing that has been done to Black people a lot. This is not just like some like one-off experience of mine. This happens to Black people a lot, where people like to rage bait you into thinking they're going to say an offensive term they know they should not be saying, right? Because At the end of the day, Black people are the only people who knows what that word means to them, right? We know that word is dehumanizing. We know it's used in slavery times. We know the historical context of that word, and it's used to dehumanize somebody, okay? And Black people have taken that term and turned it into a term that's meant to refer to somebody as a brother, as somebody who is seen as like equal footing to them, right? Okay, that's the whole point of us reclaiming that term. And for somebody who is white or somebody who is not a Black person to be using that word to refer to somebody else, they will always know it in the context of the historical. It will always be seen as the historical context, because you don't know, you're not a part of that culture, you're not a part of that space. It will always be seen that way when a non-Black person says it, okay? And what's hard for a lot of people to understand is that when you don't have the historical, you don't live in the culture, you don't know the historical context of that word, and you aren't surrounded by other Black people who know these things, you will it diminishes the word, it diminishes what it could possibly mean to other people, right? You don't get it. You don't get it is what I'm trying to say. And when people use that word that are not Black, of course they wouldn't know. Of course they wouldn't know like what it means to other people, and they would just think it's any other word. You're not on the receiving end of it. You're not the one who's had to live through the history. You're not the one who's had 400 years of bad shit happening to you. Of course you don't see it that way. And that's what makes it that's what makes it the most harmful when a non-person of color says it, when a non-Black person says it, okay? So what's frustrating to me is the context of them using this word, right? So in the live stream, they say the word nigga and they move on. And to me, I'm not going to lie to you, it sounded like she was saying the word. It was very odd, okay? But that's just me. That's my trained ear. So apparently she was saying the word nigga, and one of her castmates clearly knows what this word sounds like, because a lot of people like to joke about it, right? They like to joke about words that sound similar to it. Nibba, nega, things like that. The nega chin. We all know the context of the word and why it sounds funny and why it sounds kind of edgy, right? Because you see it, you view it that way, because you know it's bad and you're not supposed to be saying it. And one of her castmates is like, whoa, it sounded like you were saying a different word. And then they harp on that joke for the longest time. And she's like, no, I'm saying nigga, you dimwit, yada, yada, yada. Like, they just keep going back and forth about this. And then eventually they get to a Pictionary game where they are like drawing on a couple of t-shirts. And then what is the next image that's flashed on the screen? 2 t-shirts that say the word nigga on it. And everybody busts out laughing in that live stream. Like it is the funniest thing on earth. I will play the clip for you.
Go daddy for the vote.
Versus.
God damn it! Caitlin, why?
How could I not?
Oh my god!
I think I know the answer to this one. Notice you, senpai. Aaron, sure, nigga. We notice you. Chur mega? Hey, Saber!
Saber, what's up?
Saber, my man.
Oh! Wait, what?
5'7", he was the same height as me?
Let's play a game.
What's up, Saber?
Well, I don't have to worry about dying again, at least.
Guten Tag. Welcome back to
Guten
the
Tag.
floor.
Hey, sprinkle cake. That's what I thought was said
Listen to
too.
wordsmiths. Use letters to spell the longest word you can before time runs out. It was really hard to find good cues to cut out. Don't be the person with the shortest word or you'll regret it.
She did not.
Start
It just
focusing on
sounded
your
like
fingers.
it.
Did you? I said nega, you fucking idiot.
It sounded like another word.
No.
Well,
Like,
you guys
I
heard
dead
something
ass thought
else.
you said it. I was like, what? The person with the shortest. I love nega versus ooh.
Nega versus ooh was so good. I'm always gonna be scared to say the word nega ever again.
I mean, rightfully so.
Cause everybody's shits.
Mother, I crave brony meat. Mother, I crave brony meat.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Ashley, stop
This is
being so
actually
negative.
negative.
Now, to the outsider looking in, somebody who is not black, okay, you would think to yourself, oh, they just said nega. They didn't say the actual word and stuff like that. It was just a joke. It was just fun. Like, you know, it's this, it's that. It's not that bad. It was 7 years ago. Why should it matter? And I'll tell you this as somebody who is black and is very well qualified to comment on these things. And I feel like a lot of people who are not black and are commenting on this and who do not have the qualifications to say whether or not this is offensive need to actually take a backseat and listen to somebody who this actually affects, which is me. So I'll tell you my perspective on this. I would still deem this as racist. I would still deem this as a racist action. I would still deem this as being offensive. It doesn't matter if it was a joke. It doesn't matter if she said it as a joke or like whatever. Like it doesn't. Those things do not matter because we live in a society in which racism is one of these things that we deal with on a daily basis and is so heavily ingrained into our mental, psychologically, into our society and the way that we speak to each other socially. It's ingrained into, it's a systematic thing, and it infests pieces of media that we love as well. So that's why this thing is important. It's not just something that you can just brush off. That's why it's important. And for me, what gets me is the fact that while you may have not said the word, while you may have not said it exactly, and people will take it at face value of what it is, Black people know what it feels like to be baited into those things, and what it feels like to be the butt of a joke, and what it feels like to be dealing with these issues that have affected us for so long and still does to this day. We know what that word feels like. We know what it means to us. We know we're the butt of jokes all the time. So this does not diminish like this being a joke, and it's not like, it just means nothing because we know how we feel at the end of the day. We know what the system that it perpetuates, and we know what it means to other society. We know what it means for us societally. It means that we're seen as subhuman, and that's always what it's going to mean. And it's always going to mean that when somebody who is not Black says that to us. It's just what it is at the end of the day. And what bugs me the most is not just the fact that they came close to saying a dehumanizing slur. Okay, that's not what bugs me the most, right? What bugs me the most is the context as well. Why is the N-word funny to you? That's what really needs to be deconstructed. Why did you feel like it was funny to even become close to saying something that is meant to hold people down? A specific type of people that are marginalized by society. Why do you think that's funny? That in itself, once you figure that out, then you can figure out why it's racist. Then you can figure out why you shouldn't be saying something like that. Right? I feel like I don't feel like I should be explaining these things, right? And even if I'm not doing a great job of expressing why this shit is bad, I know why it's bad. And it's something that you can't always explain to people because they just don't get it. They just don't get it. Gooseworx and her castmates don't get it. Obviously, once that clip went viral and everybody just started reposting it, making their own jokes, whatnot else, calling Gooseworx and her her band of cronies the amazing digital Klansmen, once they all started getting a lot of this backlash, they all felt the need to put out different PR statements. I'm not about to read them here. I don't care to. I'm personally exhausted. I'm personally exhausted. But what followed that is basically also a public gaslighting to Black fans of the show and how they should feel about this clip that came out, and you know, the fact that it was 7 years ago and that it doesn't matter, and that this isn't just a nothing burger drama, and like, you guys just need to let it go because she didn't actually say the N-word. She wasn't part of the live stream, and even if they said something that's close to the N-word, it just doesn't matter, right? The public, I feel like it's public gaslighting. It's the public gaslighting that we've all experienced in these fandom spaces and pretty much throughout all of our entire lives, if we're even expanding from, you know, just fandom and nerd spaces and whatnot else. This is just the world that we live in that gaslights us Black people into believing that racism is just not that big of a deal. No matter how small it is, no matter how much it might affect our self-esteem, no matter how much it might subjugate us, we are expected to just feel nothing about it. And it's frustrating. And it's irritating, and I'm tired of it. You know, ever since I was a kid joining these fandom spaces, whenever incidents like this has happened, where you have something involving racism or something involving anti-Blackness, I've always been taught to shut the up. I've always been taught to just stay quiet and act like these problems don't exist and act like everything's fine in these spaces, and everyone's diverse, and if they say the N-word as a joke, like it's not that big a deal, and if they're joking about things in our outside world that are happening to Black people and stuff like that. George Floyd, if the gaming community makes a joke about George Floyd, you just need to look at and bat a different eye, because we're still a good community. There's nothing going on. There's no racism. There's no nothing. It's a public gaslighting ceremony. And honestly, I am very happy to have had a For You page full of Black fans of this show just say what they mean and say what they want to say, you know, about this topic, and not let public sentiment dissuade them from talking about their experiences with being called the N-word and, you know, being rage baited into, you know, giving a reaction by having somebody say a word that's close to the N-word, and, you know, saying how they feel about this, you know, whether or not they forgive Gooseworx but don't want to support the project anymore, like whether or not like they choose not to forgive Gooseworx, or whether or not they, you know, choose to engage with other glitch properties. What has made me so happy is like we are shifting. Even though I feel like this problem is impossible to solve, it's nice to see that we are shifting and unwavered with our opinions about these subjects, and we're not going to let people gaslight us anymore into believing that these things don't matter and stuff like that. I love that, and I think that's a beautiful thing. The amount of creators I saw on TikTok just sharing their experiences, and no matter how they felt about it, and still at the end of the day not downplaying racism, whether or not they chose to forgive. They acknowledge the fact that they are a singular Black person, and hey, this is just how I feel. You know, it was 7 years ago. I forgive them. However, I'm a singular Black person. This stuff is still harmful. They still need to atone for it. And, you know, everybody else is valid in feeling how they're feeling, you know, because we recognize that racism is a big issue and it needs to get solved. But then I start to see sometimes with these situations of racism in fandom spaces and in nerd spaces, sometimes I see Black people make takes that I personally, you know, I have to kind of tilt my head out. And this video is a particular example of that. And CerosTV, I just, this particular video just frustrates me for a lot of reasons, and I want to get into those a little bit. Here's the thing, okay? I'm not in the business of telling other Black people how they should feel or react or be angry or what they should be angry about when it comes to racist situations, okay, and how it affects us. I'm just not in the business of telling another Black person that you should forgive this person or you shouldn't forgive this person or whatever. Like, the great thing about being a human is we're not monoliths, okay? Like, I can't control how the next Black person over feels about XYZ, so I'm not going to try to. I can't control how the next XYZ Black person feels about certain things, so I can't do that, right? But I do know when certain arguments that Black people use, okay? I know that when we have different arguments that are different from the mainstream, okay? I know and you should know, okay? I know and you should know that our opinions on certain things happening to us and our community can be taken a certain way if it's not framed correctly. And I believe that this video is a prime example of that. When I saw Ceros in the beginning of this video say to his audience that they said something racist, I wouldn't even say it's racist. I would just say it's offensive, and refer to, you know, this whole drama of the live stream and, you know, how people are offended by it and saying that Goose is a racist and that her castmates are racist and that, you know, this is offensive and why would they do this? And, you know, obviously being uncomfortable with what they just witnessed, you know, he refers it to, is it just being like, this is not that big of a deal. Like, this was 7 years ago. Like, why are we bringing this up? And, you know, why is it that, you know, they didn't actually say the N-word. They didn't actually say the word. He's taking it at face value and he's presenting his opinion about this. And even though he may not view this situation as being a big deal or like as racist, more so offensive or whatever, no matter how he feels about this particular subject, the way it's being framed as though people who are offended by this and what Goose has done and what her castmates has done, the way he frames as though us being offended by these things is, oh, this is like, you guys don't actually care about racism. You guys are just using this as an excuse to just jump on her and all the castmates and everything like that. And this is what's going to ruin the show. This is the only thing. Framing it as though this is nothing to be upset about, or this is framing as though other Black people not seeing this as, you know, just a nothing burger is somehow just not a big deal and that we shouldn't care about these things. Another reason I don't like this video and the framing of it is because it allows Gooseworx and her co-stars to be able to put a bubble around themselves, a bubble of victimhood. And this bubble of victimhood keeps them from being able to be penetrated by this thing we call accountability, okay? That's what the thing that really irritates me is we have turned Goose and the actions of her castmates into the main victims of this whole entire situation and made it seem as though the people who are upset by racism and bigotry and all of these other things, we've made them seem like we are the attackers. We're the people that we're the real problem. You know, Goose and her castmates are the real victims of this. The show's creator is the real victim of all of this because she apologized. What more do you want from her? I don't know what you guys want from all the co-stars and the castmates and everything. They apologize. What more do you guys want? Right? Like, it frames it as though Goose and her co-stars did nothing wrong to warrant this type of this backlash. They didn't do anything at all to warrant this amount of anger towards them. And it also keeps them from being able to understand the experiences of Black fans because Black fans are constantly always getting harassed for calling out things such as racism. When Goose and all of her castmates use videos like this and other peoples who are just like, this is nothing, this is not that big of a deal, whatever, it keeps them from being able to take accountability and them not acknowledging that their white fan base, their primarily white fan base, harassing Black people for caring about racism and being uncomfortable with what they've done. It keeps us from being able to actually fix things, to actually make things better, right? Like, I really hate the framing of this video because it makes Goose seem like she is the victim in all of this, in all of this. When in reality, she's going to be okay because this outrage is temporary. This outrage towards her show is temporary. She won't face consequences for this. She will be able to live a nice life in her house, away from everybody else. She will have Digital Circus to fund her life. She will have Glitch. Glitch will not suffer from any of this because people do not care about racism enough to disassociate with franchises like this. They don't. This outrage is temporary. This amount of hate that Ceros is saying that she's getting is temporary. It will not last. She will be okay in the end. And this is not me defending the fact that people have doxed her. This is not me defending the fact that people have harassed her. But let's stop for a moment and think about the fact that she will be fine out of all of this. And the Black creators that have called her out on this will not be. everybody's hurt feelings from this situation and feeling subhuman for the fact that, like, you know, there will always be something that reminds them that they are Black, no matter how much they are nerdy in fandom spaces. There will be that claim that they don't want to ostracize people. They will always be made to feel ostracized because white is seen as the default fan for everybody in these fandom spaces. It just is. We'll continue to suffer down here, and we'll continue to be told and gaslit that these things are not okay. While Gooseworx, this is temporary for her. This will not last for her. But for Black fans, this will last forever. This will last forever. I don't appreciate the fact that she's getting doxxed. I don't like the fact that she's getting harassed and whatnot else. But what about other Black creators? What about the Black creators who are now afraid to cosplay in public, their bubble cosplay, because they're afraid of racist fans? What about the people who have been harassed and publicly gaslit into believing that what the rage that they feel about this situation is not okay? What about people like me who have spoken out about this issue and have gotten doxxed by hate groups because I don't like the fact that Gooseworx has done what she has done, or her castmates, and that she coincides it? Even if she wasn't part of the live stream, you having these people in your cohort is telling me that it tells me that you coincide with them. It tells me that these are the people that you interact with. Black creators have been getting doxxed left and right for speaking out about these things. We have to face the real brunt and repercussions of this. Goose will be fine. And to frame it as though Goose is the main victim of this whole entire situation when she was the one who decided to put a target on her back, and her co-stars are the one who decided to do what they did. The fact that I would get blamed for feeling how I do, for feeling the anger. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Somebody felt like, you guys don't realize how how deep rooted racism is in these spaces. You don't get it. And the fact that there was somebody from a glitch pop-up store that said nigga in front of a bunch of people, in front of a Jack standee, felt emboldened to do that because of what Goose and her co-workers decided to do. That's how deep this shit goes. That's how deep the pain runs. To the point where it emboldens other people to say things and harass people. I got doxxed for even opening my mouth to make a joke about this and say, yeah, I can see the fact that they would do something like this because I've interacted with these people before. I've been in weird kid spaces that just happen to be a bunch of white people. I've been in these spaces. You guys are not as diverse and as unbiased as you like to claim. You're not. I've interacted with these people. These were the people I used to watch on a daily. And somebody would somehow call me sensitive for calling all of this out. I've seen it. I've lived it. I've seen it and I've lived it. You guys publicly gaslight Black fans all of the time. And what kills me about this is what kills me about this is this outrage is just temporary. It will not stop Glitch. It will not stop Gooseworx. It will not stop her co-stars. It's because racism is not that big of a deal. And Ceros, I'll be completely honest with you. I feel like it's extremely irresponsible as a Black person, though you are entitled to your own personal opinions and you are entitled to forgive Goose in any way you see fit. I think that's completely fine and within your right. What I don't think is the responsible thing to do is frame people's frustration and anger, Black fans' frustration and anger, as just a nothing burger and make it seem like it's the majority of people who are just harassing her for no reason. I hate that. I hate that you frame that video like that, because it gives white people the invitation in your comment section to view these issues as nothing burger. And as a matter of fact, I saw a comment say that we throw around the word racist and anti-blackness too much to black people, to the concerns of black people. We throw that word around too much? Are you kidding me? This whole entire video, even the part where you crashed out, to me feels like the perfect excuse for some white person in your comment section or whoever sees this video. It gives them the perfect excuse to just not take racism seriously and to just say, see, I had a black friend and they said this was okay. The fact that I saw one of the comments say that if I was black, I would wear the shirt, nigga. I would wear it right on there. In your comment section. Oh, the fandom is just sensitive, and the fandom is just, you know, this is why I just don't interact with the fandom. They're just delusional. You know, they're just crazy. They're just making up things in their head. It's just so purposely misrepresented. It makes me furious because the black fans' real concerns get mixed in there with people who are doxing Goose, who are doing a bunch of other weird things to Goose. And then as a result, racism is the stepchild. Racism is the thing that doesn't get paid attention to and is downplayed. That's what really frustrates me in all this is racism gets downplayed as a result of this. Racism is the collateral damage to this. And it will never get solved so long as videos like this give white people an invitation and white fans the invitation to tell black people how to feel about things. I don't understand why you would present it that way. I truly don't. In fact, I think I saw somebody comment, this is the first video they had seen of a black person comment on racist situations like this. And the thing that like sickens me the most is majority of these people, these white people, these white fans of the show, these white people who are in fandom spaces will actively seek out black people in order to validate their own biases already. They'll actively seek out black people who have the opposite opinion of the majority of black fans, and they'll scope people like you out so they're able to just sit in their ignorance and believe that this was a nothing burger. And might I just say one more thing, post-editing, how do I hear? Hi. If you as a white person need a black person to confirm your shitty bias in order for you to actually listen to black voices and center black voices, you don't care about black people. You just don't, okay? If a black person tells you that something is racist and you go, I don't see it that way, but you jump for joy as soon as you see a black person who's willing to ride or die for your shitty ass bias and your shitty ass opinion on something that doesn't matter, you don't care about black people and you don't care about these damn issues. Let me just tell you something. They'll use it like that. And I feel like you have to know that. I feel like you have to. So it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. White people love to use videos like this as an excuse for racism, for bigotry, no matter how little or small or big this is. They will always use it. They will always use you as the token black to say everything that needs to be said on black issues, and the rest of black people are just crazy, right? We're just against Goose herself, right? I truly hope it's worth it, bro. I really do. I truly hope it's worth it to stay fence sitting. I really do. Because I'm going to tell you right now, your audience is not as full of like diverse and like in what's the word? Intellectually thinking people. Your fandom is not full of people who you think would like ride for you when it comes to a lot of things happening in this country. Racism needs to be taken seriously, especially in the time that we're in. To not be taking racism seriously in the time that we're in, with the presidency that we're in, like, I find it foolish. I find it very foolish. The framing of this video is a problem. It's a problem because it just makes people think that the concerns of black fans in these spaces is just public outrage and like a toxic fandom. It's just so, like, it just makes me so angry because all Black fans, the synopsis of Black fans that I've seen, just want Goose to do better. They want Goose to hire people that don't look like them, right? They want them to hire more Black people, more people that are representative of this. Because if we're going to be honest, if you had people in your spaces that did not look like you and had different experiences than you wouldn't feel comfortable saying all that you did. If you were actually hanging out with Black people, if you were actually hanging out with people of color, they would be able to tell you this is harmful. If you were hanging out with the right people, they would tell you this is not acceptable. I feel like indie animation needs this. Indie animation needs more Black people. It needs more diversity. It can't just be, oh, I'm a weird white kid hanging around other weird white kids and we can just joke about everybody else. No, it can't be that way. Because you get situations like this. You cannot think to yourself that white is default all the time. You just can't. And otherwise you get things like this. Even in the show, it suffers because you have the only Black character in there, the only person who voiced a Black character in there, get killed off right away. What does that say? To me, that says you don't value Black screen time as much as you do white screen time. The writing of the show, even the writing of the show, the jokes that are made constantly give or allude to just whiteness. It caters to whiteness. And I can say that even though I like the show. It's so present and it's so abundant in a lot of these indie shows that there is a white leading cast to it. And unless you actually give a shit about racism and being diverse and fixing the world, we're not going to get anywhere with you just having an all-white cast and them feel comfortable saying these things. You have to broaden your horizons. You have to know other people to know what's offensive and what's not. You have to broaden your horizons to make good pieces of media because we're in a world in which our media is affected by the powers that be and all of these horrendous systems. Patriarchy, homophobia, racism, sexism. We live in a world that affects the media that we consume. And it's up to us to deconstruct that. You can't just look out for issues and the thing that bugs me is they probably would have checked for issues such as homophobia, transphobia, and ableism because they think those are only white exclusive things and they can't have intersectionality and affect people like me. Right? It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling when you have this lens of white, of just and even if you don't realize it itself, you have to put yourself in that position. You have to put yourself in that position to be uncomfortable and understand those things. Even if you don't recognize it head on, there's such thing called internalized racism. It presents itself in different ways, right? You should be fighting for everyone, not just a certain person, because there's people who live at the intersectionality of it. How do you think Black queer people feel about this shit? They're offended. It's so frustrating. It's unbelievably frustrating, but I'm going to end this rant here. I don't think CerosTV will ever see this video, but if you do, bro, I hope it's worth it. I hope you don't take this as me being some kind who does this girl think she is and I really hope you don't take it that way, bro. But I hope that the white tap dancing is worth it. I really do, because rather than it sounding like somebody who doesn't want to be viewed as kind of like a monolith and stuff like that. I'm not saying you have to agree with every Black person you see on Earth. But doing it to the point where, you diminish other Black people's viewpoints and dumb it down to nothing, to nothingness and a nothing burger, right? Dumbing down our opinions to nothing more than just outrage at just this innocent person. We're not going to get anywhere. We're just not going to get anywhere with racism. We're not going to get anywhere. We're never going to take racism seriously. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. Have you heard of this drama? Let me know down in the comments. Tell somebody you love them today, because tomorrow is not promised to us. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.